For today, we'll be going through largest parameter triangle. So for the largest parameter triangle, it's given that an integer array nums, which is this, return the largest parameter of a triangle with a non-zero area formed from three of these lengths. And if it's impossible for any of the triangle to return a non-zero area, just return simply 0. So from example 1, we can see that 2, 1, 2, add the sum of it, you get 5. So we must first know that how is it possible to form a triangle with a non-zero area. It is simply just A plus B must be greater than C for a valid non-zero area, such that the length of one side of the triangle and the length of the other side of the triangle, the sum must be greater than the third side of the triangle. So from here, we can just see that we have to sort the array such that the array will eventually be, using example number 1, we will get 1, 2, 2. So the largest will be at the back, followed by the smallest at the front. So now we will simply just track the largest. So for this brute force approach, it's just using 3 for loops. It is not the most ideal one, but we will build upon that as we go on. So as simply as it goes, it's for I in range of n, that's the first for loop, followed by the second for loop, which is just taking the first I plus 1, followed by the third for loop, which is taking j plus 1. So from this, if we are using this first example, I will simply just be 1. I will be equals to 0, which the value will be equals to 1. And then here for j in range of I plus 1. So right now our first iteration will such that j will be equals to I plus 1, which is 1. And the value is 2. And now we move on to the third iteration, which is k. So k is j plus 1. Since j was initially 1, plus 1 you will get 2. So the value of it is equals to 2, as can be seen here. So now, once we reach here, we will just check if the first plus the second is greater than the third, because the third is the biggest number out of these two in the sorted array. And then we will use the max function to determine it. We set largest to be equals to 0, such that we can just return it at the end if none of these condition is true, which means that the triangle is false. I will simply just return true, as can be seen here. And if it's correct, case 1 will return this output. This is alright if you have a small number of array, but Leetcode usually wants time complexity. So this is not the most ideal method. I'll just comment this out. So what's another approach is the greedy method approach. So greedy method approach, we will first sort and go through the for loop from the back. So if we use the example of the big one right now, so we'll use 1, 2, 1, 10. If we sort it, we'll get 1, 1, 2, and 10. So now we will for loop it. Same thing applies. For it to be valid, the first side plus the second side must be greater than the third side. So we will use this for loop. It's a standard for loop. We will start from the last index of this list, which is 10, and we'll end it off right before the second index. So it's 0, 1, 2. We will end at this number 2 index over here, and it's a decreasing trend. So this means that we will iterate from the number 10, the number 2, and we'll stop at the number 2 since its index is equals to 2. So this is what this for loop means. So now once the first 3 consecutive is found of the triangle, it is basically the largest possible. That's why if nums of I minus 1, which is 2, plus the nums of I minus 2, which is 1, if it's greater than our current nums I, which is 10, we will just return the sum. That's it. So it's as short as it is. So you might ask, why do we do this? This is the greedy method. So we sort such that the largest possible numbers at the back. If the first 3 consecutive is not found, we will move down to the next 3 smaller triple, meaning we will just move down. Instead of 10, 2, 1, We will now move on to 2, 1, 1. So you might ask, why instead of moving to 2, 1, 1, we don't move it to 10, which is this, and then we'll move on, instead of 2, we move down to 1 and 1. You might ask this. The answer is simple. Because we'll move down to the next triple instead of changing this, which is nums I minus 1, or nums I minus 2. Since if this plus this is less than or equals to this third number, changing nums I minus 1 or nums I minus 2 by decreasing the I will only make this left hand side smaller, as you can see from this equation I written over here. So by changing the left hand side of nums I minus 1 or nums I minus 2 down the list, you'll just make it smaller, which will never satisfy this anyways. That's why these two lines is as simple as it is. So if it's being found, simply just return the sum. Else, at the end of the for loop, you will just return 0. So I will just cancel this. So this is how the equation and the solution will look like. And if we run this right now, it will work. And if I submit the code, it will be accepted, and that's it. Thank you.